In this video, we will explore the fascinating world of basic representation theory. Representation theory provides a powerful connection between abstract algebra and linear algebra. It explains how abstract groups act on vector spaces. Let's dive in and discover how representation theory bridges these two important areas of mathematics. Before we delve into representation theory, let's first define what a group is. A group is a fundamental concept in abstract algebra. A group is a set, often denoted as G, equipped with a binary operation, usually represented by a star symbol. This operation combines any two elements of the set to produce another element within the same set. The set G along with the binary operation must satisfy four specific axioms. These axioms are closure, associativity, identity, and inverse. Let's examine each of these axioms in more detail. Closure means that for any two elements, A and B in G, the result of a star B must also be an element of G. Associativity requires that for any three elements, a B and C in G, the order in which we perform the operation doesn't matter. That is, a star B then star C is equal to a star then B star C. Identity means that there exists an element, usually denoted as E in G, such that for any element A in G, a star E is equal to E star A, which equals A. This element E is called the identity element. Finally, the inverse axiom states that for every element A in G, there exists an element A inverse in G, such that a star A inverse is equal to E, the identity element. Now that we understand the definition of a group, let's look at some common examples. The first example is the set of integers under addition. The set of all integers, denoted by the symbol z, with the operation of addition forms an infinite abelian group. The identity element in this group is 0, and the inverse of any integer n is simply negative n. Because it satisfies the commutative property, it is called an abelian group. Another important class of groups is the symmetric groups. The symmetric group on n elements, denoted as S subscript n, is the group of all permutations of n distinct elements, with the operation of composition of permutations. For example, the symmetric group S subscript 3 has 6 elements. Symmetric groups are non-abelian for n greater than or equal to 3. The order or number of elements in S subscript n is equal to n factorial. Now let's transition to the concept of vector spaces, which is a fundamental concept in linear algebra. A vector space, typically denoted as V over a field denoted by the symbol F, is a set equipped with two operations: vector addition and scalar multiplication. Vector addition combines two vectors in V to produce another vector in V, and scalar multiplication multiplies a vector in V by a scalar from the field F, resulting in another vector in V. In order to be classified as a vector space, a set V must satisfy several key properties. These include an additive group structure, meaning that vector addition must be associative, commutative, have an identity element which is the zero vector, and have inverse elements for each vector. Scalar multiplication must also be associative, and both operations must satisfy the distributive laws. Additionally, the unity property states that multiplying a vector by the scalar 1 results in the same vector, and multiplying a vector by the scalar 0 results in the zero vector. Now we can combine the concepts of groups and sets. A group action describes how a group can act on a set. A group action of G on a set X is a map from G times X to X, sending the pair G, X to G.X. In simpler words, it's a way of associating each element of the group G with the transformation of the set X. A group action must satisfy two important axioms. First, the identity axiom states that when the identity element E of the group G acts on any element X of the set X, it leaves X unchanged. That is, E.X equals X for all X in X. Second, the compatibility axiom states that for any two elements G and H in G, acting on an element X in X, the result of first acting with H and then with G is the same as acting with the product GH on X. That is, GH.X equals JH.X. We're now ready to bridge groups with linear algebra. When a group acts linearly on a vector space, we get a representation. This transforms abstract group elements into concrete matrices that we can compute with. This is the core idea behind representation theory. In other words, we say that a group G acts on a vector space V such that each element G in G corresponds to a linear transformation. This can be expressed as a map row from G to GL of V, sending G to row of G, where GL of V denotes the general linear group of V, which is the group of all invertible linear transformations from V to itself. Let's formalize the definition of a group representation. A representation of a group G is a homomorphism row from G to GL of V, where GL of V is the group of invertible linear transformations of vector space V. In simpler terms, a representation is a way of mapping group elements to matrices in such a way that the group structure is preserved. A key property of a group representation is that it is a homomorphism, which means that for any two elements G and H in G, row of GH equals row of G times row of H. Additionally, the representation must map the identity element E of the group G to the identity matrix I. That is, row of E equals I, the identity matrix. Let's illustrate the concept of group representations with a simple example. The cyclic group C subscript 2. The cyclic group of order 2, denoted as C subscript 2, consists of two elements, the identity element E and a generator element R, where R squared equals E. Thus, C subscript 2 equals the set containing E and R, with the operation defined as R times R equals E. Now, let's construct a matrix representation row of C subscript 2. We can define row of E as the 2 by 2 identity matrix, with ones on the main diagonal and zeros elsewhere. Similarly, we can define row of R as the 2 by 2 matrix with negative ones on the main diagonal and zeros elsewhere. So, why does representation theory matter? What are its key benefits and applications? One of the main benefits of representation theory is that it allows us to transform abstract group theory into concrete matrix calculations. This makes it easier to study the properties of groups and solve problems involving group actions. Another benefit is that representation theory provides structural insight into mathematical objects by revealing hidden symmetries. Representation theory has numerous applications in various fields, including physics, signal processing, and cryptography. In physics, it is used in quantum mechanics and crystallography to study the symmetries of physical systems. In signal processing, it is used in Fourier analysis to decompose signals into their constituent frequencies. In cryptography, it is used in error-correcting codes to protect data from corruption. Congratulations, we have reached the end of our journey through basic representation theory. In this video, we have built a bridge connecting abstract algebra with linear algebra. We started by reviewing the definitions of groups, vector spaces, and group actions. Then we introduced the concept of a group representation, which is a linear group action that maps group elements to matrices. Finally, we discussed the key benefits and applications of representation theory. Representation theory transforms abstract symmetries into concrete matrices, making the invisible visible and the abstract computable. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit CodeLucky.com for more such useful content.